Why 10K per month shouldn't be your goal and how the gurus have lied to you. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, Daniel and I are going to be discussing why 10K per month won't get you rich and what your goal should be instead.
Yeah, so look, I kind of disagree with that a little bit.
I know. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, it does depend on what your goals are.
Yeah, look, it's not going to get you rich.
It's not going to get you rich, but yes, like we discussed off camera, it is much better than working a job. And for 98% of the population, 10K per month would be, totally fine for them.
Yeah, and when I first started, look, I think it is good to have that as your first marker.
Yes,
right? And that's
totally
the
agree.
thing is your first goal, I think, to round it up to 10K for most people, $120,000 per year. And let's say if now you're earning money through a company and you have expenses through your company and all of a sudden your tax payments are a lot different to when you're earning a wage.
Yeah,
it's
25%.
just a different setup. The government does, depending on what your country you're in, and most countries, the government is incentivizing people to start businesses. So there are a lot of, especially when you're first starting out, based with, in Australia with GST and other things, you do get a lot of benefits from, you're encouraged to start a company, right? So that 10K marker, kind of the way I see it now is you want to have different markers where it sits, and you might go between 8 and 12 and 9 and 11, and you'll kind of bounce around, right? But you want to average out at 10. So now you are at a point where you're comfortable at 10 and I know how to maintain 10K per month. And then your next goal should be 30K, 50K, 100K, right? And then once you start to, and now like we're pushing, like if we went back to 10K a month, even if it was each of us individually, I would feel like my world's about to collapse. There is no way I'm going back to 10K, right?
It really wouldn't feel good at all. But I don't know about you. It took me 9 months to get my very first client back in the day, right? It took me 9 months. Every single day I was doing hundreds and hundreds of manual outreach. And 9 months later, I signed a guy for $1,000. Best $1,000 I ever made. But it took me 9 months, right? Most people don't want to go through hardship for 9 months because they think it's easy. But it's like, to me, number one, you got to want success more than you want to breathe, well, as much as you want oxygen. Otherwise, you're not going to be successful, because whenever something gets hard, you're just going to quit. For me, when I first hit that 10K per month, I kind of felt, is that it? Like, it didn't feel phenomenal. Like, you're still faced with the same sort of issues and problems, and obviously depending on what your expenses are. And that's why I'm saying, like, it's not going to get you rich depending on what country you're in. If you're in a third world country or wherever you are, then of course that's like $1 million. But for Australia, the UK, the US, it's not going to make you rich. Taxes, you're left with 7,500 minus expenses, blah 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 blah. You're not going to be able to save enough to make yourself rich, right? So you need more income. That's basically, what you need. You just need to increase your income, but it will give you that stability. It will, allow you to not have to work for someone else. Like, it's really 5-6 clients.
And I was actually just having a conversation this morning with a guy who actually really said something really nice. Said that I kind of inspired him to go out. I had no idea to go out and find a way to earn money, not just through his wage.
Yep.
And then he asked me, like, he had the next stage of what he wants to do. And he said, how do I achieve that? And I said, I don't know the answer to that question in terms of a step-by-step guide to how to get there. But what I can tell you is you need to prioritize that and constantly be thinking about that as your next goal. And then you will find things, because everything that's happening around you in your life, there's always opportunities. And if you have this goal that you're so focused on, you'll find within your life, the internet, family, friends, business, you'll find that an opportunity will appear itself.
A way to get there.
It will appear right in front of you. And if you're not thinking about that, it'll pass you by.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
And, I just was like laughing with him saying, I remember when I was working in corporate and I had a lot of gut problems. And so I'd be going to the toilet a lot, and I got questioned. And I was like, I'm getting questioned about going to the toilet. Like,
yeah, it's like you're in.
Why aren't you just
It's like you're in
happy
school
with my results? I was always one of the, or if not the best salesperson at pretty much every organization I worked at. And yet they still, my income was not based on my performance. It was based on a salary. And then there was, of course, commission, which, midway through my career was capped. So then I was like, no matter how much more work I do, my income is not going to change. So what's motivating me to continue to make you more money? And I'm being monitored, what time I get here, what time I finish, how many times I go to the toilet. And that in itself is, for me, like, I'll never, ever go back there. I've always had a problem with people telling me what to do. And I was actually asking him, like, who's your boss? And who's his boss? And who's the boss of that person? And I would always look up when I was in corporate land and think, why are you telling me what to do? Like, you're not better than me. Yeah, you're a little bit older, maybe in some cases. In other cases, they weren't. In some cases, they had a little bit more experience than me. Yeah, maybe we're the same age, but they'd been doing this longer. But I was like, does that mean that you are better than me? And no, in no case. Actually, funnily enough, like a guy who I had been coaching, who I used to work with, and I said to him, do you think I'm better than you? And he said, well, and then he started to say things that I was better than him. And I was like, the answer is no, man. No one's better than you. Like, I always think, yes, some people are good at certain things, but I don't think anyone's better than anybody else. If you view it in a way where you can be whatever you want to be, it's just, what do you want to apply yourself to? What interests you? What type of, personality traits do you have? And again, personality can be changed, right? You can literally change your whole entire personality if you want. And, for those watching this far into it, listening to me rant, go and watch videos from Joe Dispenza, because your personality is just a series of actions. By the time you're 35 years old, 90% of the thoughts you think each day are the same thoughts that you thought the day before. And if you can start to just think differently, you can literally change your whole entire personality, because your personality is simply a series of actions and reactions in the first 30 to 35 years of your life. And that can be completely changed. Don't be limited by what you think, is your personality type and others around you and what you think you're good at and not good at. It's just a matter of your mindset, the way you think. So that was a really, really, really long way of saying I think 10K per month should just be a goal. I think it's good to have as your first goal, but as you said, you ain't going to be balling off 10K per month. It's just your first target, I think, and then your targets should shift based on what you want in your life.
For sure. I totally agree. But I mean, do you have a number per month that you would say, okay, like, it doesn't change much after this? What would your number be?
If I could walk away per month with $50,000,
I would agree.
Then for me, and like, I think we've had this conversation before, Cody. If I had to walk away with millions of dollars a year, give up time with my family, I'd be like, I don't want it. I do not want that. At 50K, if I could consistently walk away with that amount of money, that gives me enough money to provide me and my family with a great life. It allows me to have flexibility and freedom. I want to have more children than what I've got now. So I want to, that's my priorities: being a really great dad, being a great husband, being a great son, brother, friend. That's the most important things in my life, and my work gives me the ability to be really good at that. And I really like what I do. I really like that we get to help out, businesses, helping them to grow. For the most part, we're dealing with small to medium businesses. Yep. I really like that. And I especially like the lifestyle that allows me to have, like the type of person I get to be. So yeah, 50K.
I would agree with you, because then at that point you can save, a significant portion of that. And if you want to travel, you can travel. You've got basically the ability to do whatever you want. really. So I think I would agree on that number. I don't have a family yet, so I'm fine sacrificing, and I've always been that person who would sacrifice everything. And it's just what I've known. Growing up, I've told this story many times on the channel. Man, when I was like 17, I didn't go to my formal. I didn't go to graduation. I basically missed everything because I was working, and that's what I wanted to do. I thought that was irrelevant. I never went to parties. I never did anything quote unquote fun. Never hung out with friends because I was always working to achieve a certain goal. And would I go back and change it? No, I wouldn't, because I do think things require sacrifice, and I think you need to be willing to sacrifice certain things to achieve certain goals. But it all depends on what those goals are, right? Like for you, we're in very different situations. You're like 10 years older than me, even though you don't look it. And you've got a family, and I don't. So I'm definitely someone that can, work at all hours if I really want to. And the reality is, I think we kind of should be, weekends and all that kind of stuff. And there's certain things that I can do that maybe you can't, because you've got different commitments. But I remember this, and I remember this vividly because I met this, multi-millionaire property developer in Melbourne. Sat down with him in his office. I just seen him on the street. I approached him. I recognized him. I said, "Hey, I love what you do. Can I come to your office and have 15 minutes with you to have a chat? I'm just starting out I want to start my own business. Like, I want to have a chat to you." And this guy was worth probably $800-900 million. He had all these big skyscrapers and everything. He was like 45, really good looking dude. And I was like, I want to be like you. And I sat down with him. And after that meeting, I realized I do not want to be him. I realized he makes all this money. He brings in hundreds of millions of dollars, but he's got no time. He's got no freedom. He's in the office at 3 a.m. in the morning on a Friday or Saturday night trying to close a deal. He can't go travel, even though he's got the financial means to do whatever he wants. He can't do it because he's tied down on certain things. He was just getting married. He had no family. And he's like, that was a big regret. He's like, I'm 45. I'm quote unquote successful, but when I go home at night, like I've got nothing, And I was like, yeah, I definitely do not want that. I'd rather make $500,000, maybe $1 million a year and have that freedom than, because I think at that point money becomes irrelevant. And that was definitely a shift in my mindset personally. It was a big wake up call. And then a couple of years later, he got cancer and he died. So yeah, like I can't imagine what was going through his mind, at that point in time. Like I think it was like 47 when he died. It was only a couple of years back. And I was like, man, like he had everything, and then just one day you're here and one day you're not. It's like,
yeah, but it's like, what's everything? To me, everything.
I know. And like, it goes back to what you're saying, right? Like, it depends what your goals are. A couple of years ago, if you asked me what I wanted to have big buildings and all this kind of stuff and be worth hundreds of millions and all this kind of stuff. And I didn't care about anything else. But now I'm like, yeah, I don't really care about that. Sure, I want to make millions, but, now I can sacrifice. But, down the line, I don't really want to have to sacrifice. Sure, if you have to work some weekends, if you have to work some late nights, that's okay. But, long term, you don't want to sacrifice relationships, family, and all of that kind of stuff. And I think, that 50K per month is definitely that number, I would say.
But to walk away with 50K a month as an agency, you're going to have to look. That's one of the beautiful things about running an SMMA is there's very little expense, and it can be done by an individual. You can run it as a larger organization. And I don't think that that's ever going to change. I can't see in the near future anyway, because there's so many opportunities. Like people can be a tradesperson and then the next day they can be a business owner and they need to generate their own leads, right?
Yeah.
And you can do this at a small scale where you're charging a lower price. And if your profit margins are extremely high, let's say you could have profit margins as high as 90 to 95%.
I mean, that's what we're really sitting at.
Yeah, exactly.
Now.
And
we're sitting at about 90%. It may be about look, it's between 85 and 90% profit margin.
And if you want to be a larger organization and you want to work with larger organizations, your profit margins might drop as low as 30%, right? But so that's why I think there's always going to be the opportunity to do this for anybody, right? If you have,
there's so many different angles, like there's so many different angles you can go through within SMMA, right? Everyone just talks about Facebook ads or, running ads, but there is so many different things that you can do within this space that will help a business, because that's all we're doing at the end of the day. It's like, we don't care about what method or what vehicle we use. It's just like, can we bring you more customers? And what's the easiest and most cost-effective and most efficient way possible to do that? If it's billboards, we're going to be doing billboards, like it doesn't matter the vehicle.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, you can niche down. Let's say with Go High Level, for example, you can pick a feature, any feature.
Yeah.
And you build a story. You build a story around that feature. You build up some evidence and credibility around how you can use that feature to grow someone's business. It could be, all right, I'm just going to get you more Google reviews, right?
Yeah.
To this day, Google reviews are still the number one factor when it comes to ranking your business on Google. And just think about your own behavior. If you're jumping on, you want to go to a restaurant, I'll scroll through and go, if I search restaurants, and I did because I was staying in the city the other night, and then it comes up with their average rating, right? On the map, all the dots, and then the average rating. I'm looking around who's 4.5 and above. If you're like 4.4 and below, I'm like, nah, there's little chance of me going there unless I already know I've been recommended by someone else or whatever.
I'm with you.
Or unless I just walk in. But if I'm researching, I'm looking, all right, who's 4.5 and above? And with a restaurant, for example, and, we have this method to get more Google reviews. If you can get them above a 4.5, let's say they're sitting at a 4.2, 4.3, and they've had 10,000 customers in the past, it's so easy to boost their ranking overnight and then build them a little system that will continually get them more Google reviews, guaranteed 5 stars, right?
And you could literally charge $99, $149.
You charge anything you want, right? And if you can, you could just sell that one feature. We do Google reviews, and there's companies that do that. What's the name of that company?
I know the one you're talking about. Well, I used to work with, my very first sales job, I worked for a company, and they put you in the top 3 of the Google Maps section, right? And they did absolutely F all, and we were charging $99, $149, $199 per month. And I met the guy, the owner of the business, actually up here. He was on his honeymoon, and I was just waiting tables because I was just depressed. I was going through like a midlife crisis at 17, and he had a nice Rolex on, and I'm like, oh yeah, what do you do? And he's like, oh, I own a couple of businesses. I'm like, oh, okay. Do you make much money? He's like, yeah, we do good. Turns out they're probably doing 10, 15 million a year or whatever, and that's what they do, and all they have. Man, even now, like I know a guy that's still working there. They've got no CRM. They use sticky notes still, right? And they just cold call people from the Google Maps section. That's it. They've got no internal system. It's crazy, And all we do is just cold call from like Yellow Pages or these third-party directories or Google Maps or whatever it is, and try to sell them on that call. And man, they were making hundreds of thousands of dollars per month, and the guy literally started it from his fucking bedroom.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, man, it's how bad do you want it? Because if you don't want it that bad, stay doing what you're doing, because if you don't want it bad enough, this is way harder. And if you just go get a job and you earn your wage and you leave work at Friday, 5 p.m. and you're like, don't have to think about it. Sunday's your day, Saturday's your day, Friday night, you do whatever you want. Like, cool, just stay doing that. There's nothing wrong with that, because this will be way harder for you. If you don't want it bad enough, you're going to struggle a lot. But if you want this badly enough, then, and you don't want to have anyone monitoring your toilet breaks, you don't want to have anyone tapping their watch when you walk in, making comments when you're leaving saying, oh, what are you part-time? If you leave 1 minute before the time you're supposed to, then this is for you. And, again, that 10K marker is I think milestone. It's a great first milestone.
Yeah.
And you might be happy chilling there for a few years.
I mean, a lot of people are, man. And I know a few people that I've coached before, and they're like, they get to that month, that per month, and they're happy. They've got their family is sorted. They're just chilling. That's great, right? If that's your goal, that's amazing. It all depends on what you specifically want. For me, I'm not going to be happy with that. I think even once we get to 50K per month, I think each, maybe for the first couple of months, it'll be okay, cool. It'll be up and down, a bit shaky. But if we're doing that consistently, I think both you and I will want to grow past that. But it's how can we grow past that in the most efficient way possible? Because I'd love to do some traveling and do a few things in that. But I think even that, everyone shows this lifestyle and that it's not actually that glamorous. Just traveling around, to me, it sounds great. And in my mind, it's yes, it's what I want to do. But when it actually comes to it, it's exhausting.
That's so exhausting.
It is exhausting. It's
my routine's all out of whack. I get up in the morning.
Yeah, I know. I like routine.
Where's my cafe
some people don't like routine. I'm a big routine guy. I struggle if I don't have routine,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And
it all depends on your personal goals and what you want out of life. And that's really what it is. No one can tell you what's a good goal, what's not. I'm not here saying 10K per month is nothing. I'm not one of those people, because it all depends on your personal circumstance.
Yeah. And if you think about a job, and if you go into a job and you go, all right, in 2025, I want to double my salary.
How can
you can't do that unless maybe if you're working a commission-based role where potentially you could do that, but for the average person, you simply cannot do that. No. You get a CPI increase each year, which is 2-3%, and then maybe if you get a promotion, you might get a 10% increase in your salary. But just doubling your salary, maybe if you do get poached by another company and they really want you and they can, they're all right, we're going to give you 30-40% more. But that might be once every 5-10 years, maybe.
It's near impossible to do it at a job.
But if you're running your own business and you go 2025, I'm going to double my income, that is definitely achievable.
Yeah.
And so that for me is, but then again, there's a lot of issues that come with that as well. So it's not it's all sunshine and rainbows, and it's we're just over here and we just double our income. You see these Instagram clips. I can't remember the name of that guy, but there's this one where he says, I have 3 days in a day, and he's 6 a.m. to
Ed
midday.
Yeah. I listened to him.
He's that's my first day. And then it's
he was actually incredible to listen to live, but I think he has gone off the rails a bit.
Yeah, but there's a few people who say, you just get 10 and then you double that, you triple that, and you quadruple that. And there's actually this comedian, and then he cuts to him and he'll say, that's stupid. Why don't you 100 or 1 billion X that?
Yeah.
And it's we're just not at that stage of business yet. I guess maybe, definitely some people can do that when you have a huge amount of resource.
But money makes money too, right? When you're starting it, it is so I don't know. We haven't made millions yet. I mean, I want to get there in the next 12 months. It would be nice to say, hey guys, I'm officially a millionaire. But even then, I'm definitely going to be scared shitless, because I'm going to be holding on to it. And I think Grant Cardone said that, we're going off on a tangent, but Grant Cardone said, never take advice from millionaires, because they're going to be hoarding it. They're going to be scared and freaking out and being oh, I can't do anything. I definitely feel that that's going to be me. I'm definitely going to be one of the scared ones, figuring out, oh, I can't lose this, I definitely think it's not, there's different problems that there's always going to be problems, and then you got to face those problems when you get to it. That's a good problem to have, I think. But I think money makes money. Like all these people that you're referring to, yeah, maybe we just don't get it because we're not at that stage yet, right? But man, it is so much easier to make more money and increase your income and double and triple and quadruple when you've got the not only the money, but also the resources available to do it. But when you're starting out, or even at like where we're at, okay, sure, like I've had this conversation. We could literally spend 20K, 30K, 40K next month, and we technically could, get to a couple of $100,000 per month, right? But can we sustain that right now? Hell no. We can't do it. Like, yes, okay, we can chuck the money into ads and I can come up with different creatives and all that. I don't think that's the issue. The issue is we don't have, like, we can't fulfill, we don't have the systems and the structure and that in place to even do that yet.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. And
so in theory, yeah, it's possible, and it would be amazing, but we would die. Like if we did that, everything would crumble. Everything.
No,
we'd probably go back down to zero. Like in all honesty.
Yeah, I agree. And it's I think a lot of those people that do say those type of things. So look, that was a really, really roundabout way of saying that 10K per month.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to edit this up because it's like 33 minutes. So I think I'm going to have to I don't know how I'm going to cut this up. Maybe it's 2 video. I don't even know.
I think there's a whole bunch of clips you can pull out of there that could be good. But yeah, man, I think that hopefully people do get some benefit out of us kind of working through that, why it is a good goal and it isn't a good goal, because there's a lot of ways to look at it. But I think the main takeout is just get started, man. Get on your way to that 10K.
Yeah.
Sitting around and thinking if 10K is what you want or not, that's if that's the answer, just get there. Yeah, man. I think that's hopefully been beneficial for people listening to our conversation. But again, man, if people want to have a chat with us, comment below.
Sure.
Hit us up. Always happy to chat. If there's anyone out there who thinks they might add value to this channel, let us know. Yeah. I think it'd be a lot of fun to do that. So yeah, man. Hopefully that's been interesting.
Yeah, awesome, guys. Awesome. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.